This one's personal. I ran a spin out of a technology company from a healthcare provider organization in Silicon Valley. And it was at a really interesting time. This was just on the heels of Obamacare passing. There was a huge market opportunity. The industry was broken. Healthcare continues to be broken. And this technology was proven out in the marketplace to really drive significant clinical and financial benefits. So I was jazzed about that opportunity. So we took this technology that had been built in a provider organization that was owned by 626 physicians, spun it out into a new company, moved it to San Francisco, figured out how to isolate those 626 physicians, because anybody who's been in healthcare knows that that can be a nightmare situation to deal with. So we had an SPV that was able to work with that. Went and capitalized the company with a first round of financing by a leading one of the premier insurance companies in the United States. So now we have a leading provider organization with a leading insurer, proven technology, and capital. Did a 10x step up on the valuation of that company over a 14-month period of time. Grew it from an initial team of 13 that joined the spin out and grew that up to 50 people within that 14-month period of time as well. We were really humming. And then it came to the next step, which is to do the next round of financing to grow to the next order of magnitude. One day we did 16 pitches. It was at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. Did 16 pitches within 24 hours. We were humming. The team was strong top to bottom. The technology was good. We had the right sort of investors. We had the right inputs. We really understood the market. The market opportunity was phenomenal. Everything was lined up to have a really successful round. We had one of the best investment banks in this particular space working it with us. And it wouldn't close. I couldn't get it across the altar. I got a lot of people up near the altar and they wouldn't close. Something precluded it, and it was in my blind spot. And I hope that's the aha here, which is, and it took me a while to figure this out. But what was going on, I was playing my game, and I think that we were playing the game really well. We had all the pins lined up exactly the way that you want to line them up for a technology venture that's really growing well and has a bright future. The game that I wasn't aware of, that was larger than me, that was in my blind spot, and it was seemed irrelevant or a distraction from my core focus, the game that I was playing, was that group of 626 physicians was trying to sell themselves. And they were in negotiations and ultimately into due diligence with one of the largest private provider organizations based out of Nashville. They couldn't do anything. They were locked down. So their financials were locked down and they couldn't do anything with cash. They could not participate in the next round of financing this venture, this technology venture, because of something that was completely unrelated to it. But what it did was that because they would not participate in the upcoming round, then the premier insurance company also wouldn't commit to funding the next round, which then also meant that the venture capitalists and other kinds of investors that we were targeting would not commit to coming into the next round. Why? Because if one of the core, the parent, the founder, the founding entity says they're not going to reinvest, but won't tell you why, they think there's a ticking bomb. There's a problem inside. There's a virus inside. There's something that they're missing. Perception rules. And so nobody was willing to come to the table and close that deal. The round didn't close. And we ended up selling that company and certainly it was successful enough, but it wasn't of the order of magnitude that you ever hope for when you give blood, sweat, and tears to your company. You want these things to launch at the highest valuation you possibly can. And that was not going to happen. So the lesson here for me, and it was arduous and it burned 3 years off of my life to figure out what the heck really was going on here, is that something was stuck in my blind spot and I didn't recalibrate a strategy and the way that we were thinking about how to make decisions to reflect a change in the situational context, which is that my provider organization would not invest and they couldn't tell me why because they were under a non-disclosure agreement. Keep it in mind. The assignment is to think about your own trajectory, your own key strategic initiatives, what you're focused on, what you're passionate about, what you know is going to win, and ask yourself what you're missing. That's it for now. I'll talk to you soon.